price is king, it's where we belong. Stay with the dream, don't lose your way. Right way's the fire that'll light the day. Keep it simple, let the moment arrive. 3-8 trap keeps the hope alive. Hold on tight till the signal's near. Right way's the trail, we're breaking through fear.
Good morning, fellow traders. This is Doug Campbell with Right Way Options, and this is the morning market prep video for Friday, October 3rd, 2025. Well, as you might be able to hear, I still have, I don't know, some kind of virus or something causing me some issues. Hopefully there'll be no coughing or sniffling or something like that in the video today. I'll do my best. I am feeling better today, but my voice is still a bit on the crunchy side here. So let's take a look at what happened overnight. First off, we had Asian markets, nice, very strong moves in this market as we continue to run up, virtually ignoring an awful lot of details here in the market. No one seems to care about valuations, but as I continue to say, stay with the trend. There's no way to know when this is going to shift, so stay with the trend until the trend breaks. First off, over in Asian markets, very, very strong. We had Australia up $41.50 or 0.46%. Hong Kong was down 146.20, 0.54%. We had South Korea up 93.38, 2.70%. And the Nikkei zooming up last night, 832.88, or 1.85% higher. India was higher by 57.95, 0.23%, and Shanghai up $20.24 or 0.52% on the day. Big moves around the world. Doesn't seem that any of these countries are having any major ramifications or impacts from the tariffs. It seems to be just all run to the upside as we move along here. If we take a look at European markets are also green across the board, continuing to extend and touching some fresh record highs over there as well. We've got the DAX up 36.70 or 0.15%. FTSE's up 66.47. 0.70%, and the CAC is up 26.51 or 0.33% this morning. Looking at U.S. futures, we are continuing a pretty strong move to the upside, and we're setting new record highs here this morning in the diamonds, SPY and QQQ. IWM may be getting close. If we open up here, we would be opening at a new record high here on IWM if it can hold that move here this morning. So keep an eye on these. First off, Dow futures right now up 102 even. S&P 500 futures up 13.75. And NASDAQ futures up 48.74 here so far this morning. So keep an eye on those as they continue to run to the upside. Let's take a look at what we have going on in those bonds this morning. Bonds are being pretty well behaved here. They've been easing back, and one of the ways that they have been able to do that is we haven't been getting a lot of the government numbers. We haven't been getting those jobs numbers here because of the government shutdown, and so they're partying hard here without knowledge of what's actually happening in jobs. We've got the 2-year bond right now at 3.55%. 10-year bond is coming in at 4.09, and the 30-year bond is at 4.69%, so easing back on those. And as a result, we're getting a little bit of a push here in the dollar. You can see we've got this these rising lows in here, and we're holding a price support area here in the chart. So if we can get any follow through in here, that would be great. At this very moment, dollar is down 8 cents. But keep an eye on that, holding in a nice bullish pattern. If we can get those bonds to continue to pull back, perhaps we can start moving up and testing resistance up in here on that US dollar. Now, while we've got that going on, interestingly enough, we had a pretty strong pullback in gold yesterday, and then it bounced at the end of the day, and right now gold is up 21.20 an ounce at 38.89 an ounce here this morning. Still showing pretty strong in this upside trend. No sign of major break yet, but it is overextended and should get a little rest or pull back here before too long. Silver continues to run to the upside as well. Silver had a pretty strong pullback happening yesterday and then ended up bouncing. Right now, silver futures up 94 cents. We're at 47.31 an ounce in silver. Copper continues to run to the upside. It had a little bit of pullback yesterday, again responding back, and this is a copper miner obviously, but continuing to run to the upside here. As you can see, we have copper up this morning a bit over 6 cents, continuing to run to the upside. Platinum is continuing that follow through from yesterday's bounce. We've had a couple of days where we have put some nice tails here in platinum, and now we're pushing up this morning. Right now up 23.40 an ounce in the futures. And palladium also, after hammering yesterday, following through to the upside, 26.20 an ounce here this morning, 2.08%. Now those cryptos have had a whopper of a run here to the upside. They're taking a little bit of a break here this morning. Right now, Bitcoin is down $273 a coin, but as you can see, they're already powering that back here to the upside in IBIT, so keep an eye on that. Lots of strength here in cryptos. Ether also just resting slightly here in this morning after several big days with gaps and runs to the upside. Right now down only $8.49 or 0.19%. And Solana also just a tiny bit lower here today, $1.13 or 0.49% here at the moment. If we take a look at oil, well, oil is finally getting a little bit of a bounce after making a multi-year low here in oil yesterday. Watch that carefully. We've got this push back to the upside here coming this morning, but it's not very strong. Up 32 cents a barrel at 60.80 a barrel. Notice that we broke this support in here. We're going to have to push back up through that area of support to see if we can get things going here again in oil, but not looking too strong at the moment. Brent crude is at 64.50 a barrel, in natural gas that has been showing a nice move to the upside, reversed yesterday after tagging some resistance in here, pulling back to see how we're going to hold on to some support. So keep an eye on this. Remember, it's always the pattern that gives us the best opportunity for an upside reversal is when we make that impulse wave to the upside and then we get some kind of a resting consolidation. It can be a pullback, it can be just a straight consolidation, and then we see those buyers following through on that. So keep an eye on some of these, and we'll look at this again here in just a bit. Let's take a look at, well, nope, actually I think that's it. How about we settle in? Let's buckle up and let's get ready for the Friday edition of the Morning Market Prep video. Good morning once again, everyone, and thanks so much for being here. I do truly appreciate it. Once again, apologize for my weakness of my voice here. Hopefully it's not coming across as too cringy. Let's take a look at these index charts and see if we can figure out how we might want to approach the market for today. Remember, we want to shake off that bias and really focus in on the chart and see what we have going on here so we can plan carefully for the day. So looking at the diamonds, there's just no way you can look at this chart bearishly. Continuing to move to the upside, continuing to set record highs here in the market. If we can pass through this wick up here and hold that for the day, perhaps we will then reverse that big shooting star pattern here and get back to more confidence for that upside move. So watch that carefully in here today, but gapping to the upside and blue sky above, pretty easy to see where that could go if the markets continue to push to the upside and big tech continue to drive the market. Now, if the bears were to have anything to say, the first thing I would suggest is a pushback to retest yesterday's high or close, and then maybe a push down here to test this area of support. I don't see any problem in the market if it were to ease back into that area. It would be if we got a full-on reversal and we push down below that area that we'd probably raise a little bit of concern. And I don't think we're going to have any kind of major concern unless we get some substantial reversal here in the market that would take out some of these lows in here in the chart. Now, I do still think that's possible, and it's possible because of the low breadth and the low participation rate that we're seeing in the market. So just be prepared. Don't chase already extended stocks just in case we happen to get that whipsaw in the market. Let's take a look at our SPY. SPY also new record highs and continuing to stretch to the upside. Now, this candle pattern could serve. We see these patterns at tops. That would be maybe the hanging man. But remember, a hanging man requires follow through to the downside. So far, that's not there, and so we're continuing to push through to record highs here this morning in the SPY. If we can continue that bullishness here, well, blue sky above, anywhere is the upside opportunity there in the SPY. If the bears were to have anything here to say, then I would start looking for those pullbacks to come back in, test some areas of price support, and then see if we can hold up above that area of price support. A little bit of worry if we were to reverse in here and break that support level here in the chart, we could see a little bit of concern starting to come up in the market if that were the case. And then I would look for this area right across here. There's a lot of price action right in that area. I don't think we get too terribly worried unless we break below there. And I still think we're going to have to break these two tails here to really get any major worry coming up in the SPY at the moment. Let's take a look at our QQQ, which is very much the same as big tech and AI continue to push the markets higher in these strong moves. Once again, a little bit of a hanging man type pattern, but it requires a follow through to the downside, and so far we're continuing to stretch up for new record highs at the open. And then blue sky above for those bulls if they can continue to find that inspiration here on Friday. And Fridays have typically been very bullish for most of the summer, very bullish Fridays. So watch that carefully. If the bears were to have anything to say, I would suggest we'd want to watch this area right in here. A break back down below there would probably raise some concerns on a reversal. Breaking through that area, that little trending area here that we've had recently in the chart, then we'd start looking for some levels like right through there to see if that would break. And again, I don't think we'd really worry at all here in the market unless we were to take out this low here. We've got to take out that low to have a little bit of worry on the bearish side. Then right now we're so enthusiastically bullish despite the high valuations and the overextension in prices. nobody seems to be worried about it at all. We just continue to push to the upside. IWM. Now this one had a little bit more of a challenge getting to the upside because it doesn't benefit from those tech giants out here. But you can see still pushing through to the upside, running in a nice little modest upside trend in here. Breaking through this resistance in here is a big deal for IWM, so watch that carefully. If the bulls can continue to control that move to the upside, let's start looking for these areas up here to be challenged. And as it stands at the moment, this is an all-time high open here in IWM. If the bears were to have anything to say and we were to reverse this back down, first place, we're going to watch that area price support, see if that holds. If that were to break, then I'm going to look for some areas down in here. You can see we've got a lot of congestion right through that area. That line touches a lot of these candles. Breaking back down through there would probably add some worry. But again, I don't think we get major concern coming in the market unless we break that down through there. Let's take a look at our VIX. One interesting thing that's been happening here in the market is our VIX is continuing to rise as we're hitting new record highs. And we're doing this on relatively low volume in some of those indexes as we continue to rise and stretch to the upside. So our VIX is showing a little bit of concern here, maybe a little bit of acknowledgement in here about the elevation here of the market. So watch that carefully. If those bulls can find some good quality inspiration here today and we can shake off a little bit of that fear, then I would suggest we should break this back down below here, below that area, and breaking that upside trend. And with the bullish open that we've got going today, that's what we'd want to see to bring more confidence onto that bullish side. However, if we continue to see this moving to the upside or holding in this pattern here where our VIX is remaining elevated, we'll want to watch that carefully, because if the bears were to have anything to say, these higher lows make that possible. That's where some real selling could come in, and it could come in really quickly. So that's why everyone needs to be planning your trades carefully. Make sure you have a plan to stop yourself out if something reverses or changes here in the market, and make sure that you are working really hard to plan the risk of those trades carefully, not chasing something already overextended, because if that reversal comes, it could be swift and it really could be painful. Our T2122 yesterday, we ended up finishing the day pretty much right in the middle of the zone. We had pushed this down pretty significantly yesterday, and then what we've been doing is the whipsaws that we've seen this week. Whip it down, probably stripping out some stops, and then reverse it and whip it back up, and finding enough energy to continue to pump those new record highs. But you'll notice in here we're still kind of sitting in the middle of the road, straddling the fence here with the uncertainty that we have in the market. If the bulls starting today with lots of inspiration, I would look for a stretch up in toward this area. Whether we can reach all the way up here to the bearish reversal zone, that's another question. But if the bears have anything to say, we've got about an equal weighting here for the bears if they find inspiration in any of the data today. Let's take a look at our T2108. T2108, as we made new record highs, T2108 continued to slip lower yesterday. Still holding below 50%, so the percentage of stocks above their 40-day weakened yesterday as we made new record highs. Keep that in mind. So watch that carefully here. If the bears were to continue to push in here, I would look for some areas right in here around 45% to potentially hold. With the gap up here this morning, I would expect this is going to push back higher. So start watching this area up here at 50%. See if we can break back through there, regain that psychological level here in T2108. T2107 holding up much better in here. Yesterday ended up closing going flat to just ever so slightly higher, even though it was down most of the day. So kind of hanging in there on the percentage of stocks above the 200-day, still stuck in this range here. So if those bulls can really get going, we need to break through that resistance up here, see if we can stretch back up for that recent high. If the bears have anything to say, well, we can see where we would want to be watching if those bears get going. And I think if we were to break below that 50% area, that would be that psychological level in T2107 that might raise a little concern. Our T2101 continues to be the problem here. Our T2101, as we're making new record highs, continuing to show that the participation rate here in the market is weak, very weak, and concerningly weak, to tell you the truth. And we're making new record highs as our participation continues to be this weak. So with this bullish move today, we really need to see that breadth starting to pick up on the bullish side, showing us that we're getting some good solid follow through. Otherwise, we open the door for that whipsaw, and we could have those bears jump in just as, you know, at any point in time, jump in to try and push to the downside. So watch that carefully here in T2101. Let's take a look at our economic calendar here for today. And honestly, there's not much here for us to deal with because the major news here this morning is canceled. We will not be getting the employment situation report here today because of the government shutdown. Now, the market is taking advantage of those no reports. We know that there's a concern in jobs, but we're not getting any of that data, so that's giving them that energy to push to the upside. And as we continue that push to the upside, just remember, if that jobs data, when it does come out, if it happens to be on the wrong side of this bullish push, then we end up in a situation of that big reversal that could occur quickly in the market. Other than that, we've got Williams that will be speaking here today. I don't know 100% sure if we're going to get these reports, but we've got a PMI composite number that could be out today. They didn't give us the composite number here this morning, but we've got the services number coming in. They're suggesting a 53.9, staying in there just a little bit flat, or just a slight improvement over the prior. So that would be good news. And our ISM, which is the more important number, they are suggesting that is going to decline here to 51.6, but that's a fairly modest decline on this. If we were to happen to miss this and drop below 50, that might raise some concerns in the market. But as we've seen here, we can get terrible numbers like that terrible ADP report and just ignore it and make new record highs in the market. Baker Hughes, and then a couple more Fed speakers here in the afternoon to be paying attention to. Let's take a look at our earnings calendar, and well, there isn't anything. On the earnings calendar today, we have no earnings reports. There's no notables at all. There's no reports here before the bell. There's no reports after the bell. So a pretty dead day as far as that goes. We'll be keying in on probably AI and big tech news today for inspiration in the market. Let's take a look at some stocks that could be setting up for today. But before we do that, everyone, if you could do me that quick favor, if this is the first time you've seen these videos, if you could please click that subscribe button on YouTube, and also click that bell icon when it pops up so you'll be notified every time I post a video. And if you find these videos to be useful, if you could do me that favor and click that thumbs up button, leave a brief comment. That helps the channel to grow. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to do that. I truly, truly appreciate it. And I know it does become kind of doing it every day. I understand that it's not fun to have to do that every day, but I do appreciate everyone who does do that, because that helps support. And if you could share those videos out on your social media feed, that helps a lot as well. So thank you, everyone, for those who do that. Let's take a look at some of these stocks that could be setting up. And remember, everyone, these are not recommendations to buy or sell any security. You need to do your own due diligence and be very careful in this market. And remember, we really need to be choosy about the trades we take right now because the extension in these charts. So make sure you're planning carefully on your trades. I'm going to go back and revisit UNG here. I want everyone to notice that we haven't been able to hold a higher low here in this chart. We had that opportunity right here to hold that higher low, and we went up and tagged the double top and went right back down to a new low. So we need a technically correct pattern to set up here in that natural gas chart where we can hold some kind of a higher low, hold a pattern where we can develop an upside trend that shows that bullish follow through. So watch that carefully here. I think UNG has been so pushed down here for so long. I think there might be some opportunities coming up here, maybe in the near future. I'm not saying it's right now, but start watching that chart. I would also keep an eye on Boyle in here. Boyle, nice push yesterday, broke through this resistance here in the chart and then reversed, pulling back. But if we can hold in this area, hold that area of support in there, and then see those bulls pushing on through, that'd be the opportunity to be that you can make some really good money on. So watch those patterns here in the chart, looking like we might have a chance to get going in something out of a bottom. Another one that we may have an opportunity here would be those treasuries. TLT, this has been struggling for a long time. As you can see, we've been in this basing formation forever, and right now we're showing just a little bit of bullishness in here. We crossed up, tried to hold that higher low, still trying to hang in there. If we continue to see those bonds pull back, I would look for that opportunity. Those bond rates pull back, I would look for TLT maybe to start stretching to the upside. So watch that carefully here. Certainly worth keeping an eye on in the chart. Maybe not ready for prime time yet, but I think if a person just set a price alert and just waited, there may be an opportunity coming along here on TLT. Let's take a look at a few other places. I continue to bring up these uranium stocks. Uranium really looking good. Now I have a bias here on UEC, have taken some beautiful profits on this year and continue to hold a position that's working. This morning we're getting a little bit of pullback in here, but I would keep watching these charts for that next opportunity. It is possible because of this stretch that we may have to rest a little bit more here on these charts. We separated away from the bigger upside trend, so we might need a little bit more rest or pullback, but I'd keep an eye on these. That had a beautiful pop yesterday, showing some strength in there. I would keep an eye on that for that upside move. URA, that's looking beautiful yet from yesterday. Nice pop higher. Keep an eye on that. If you're trading a smaller account and need something a little bit cheaper, take a look at UROY. That's looking really good in here. Hammering yesterday. Any follow through on that might be an opportunity to the upside. So keep an eye on some of these charts. CCJ is really setting up nicely as well, worth paying attention to. You might want to keep an eye on the utilities out there. Utilities breaking through all-time high resistance here on XLU. Resting in here just a little bit and then bounced right back up. So I would be looking for that next opportunity in here for this to hold. Might even be a pullback into here, but watch for that next opportunity in those utilities. And you could jump right into, individual utilities like Southern Company after breaking this downtrend in here, working to hold that first higher low, and that upside opportunity could be coming in here. Now I drew this line. I don't know where that's going to find those buyers. Excuse me. I don't know where that's going to find those buyers in here, but watch that carefully. Someplace along here I would watch, and if we can get those bulls to start pushing to the upside. And there's a lot of these stocks right now looking good. You can take XLU and TC2000 and then pull up everything that makes up that index, and you can run through stocks. And there's quite a few of these in here that are having very bullish pattern setups, so worth paying attention to. Some even trying to come up out of long-term bottoms, so watch that carefully here on some of those utility plays. We're obviously going to need these utilities to do one bang-up job to supply all the energy that is going to be required by AI, so keep an eye on those. Take a look at AMD in here. AMD finally made a break through this resistance here in the chart. We've been struggling in here for quite a while against that resistance. What I'd want to see in here is a continued hold, a little bit of rest in here maybe, and then see that push on higher. Keep an eye on AMD if it can start picking things up here in the market. And I really think Microsoft has got some pretty good upside potential in here as it heads toward earnings here toward the end of this month. Keep an eye on that. Running pretty bullish here in this little upside trend, just resting right now. I'd look for that pop through this area here in the chart. And I'm going to say the same on Apple. Apple's been fighting and struggling to break through back above into that all-time high. They continue to analyst after analyst continue to upgrade it and upgrade it and upgrade it, trying to get it to pop through. So I would keep an eye on that for that next opportunity in Apple as well. Signet Jewelers finally made its move yesterday, popping that alert. Unfortunately, this has terrible options, but so it's pretty much a stock buy in here. But keep an eye on Signet. That's looking really good, stretching to the upside. And I'm going to continue to mention these aerospace and defense. There seems to be a lot of money pouring into these aerospace and defense stocks, looking really good. Any little rest or pullback in here, I think I would keep an eye on GDX, and RTX could be setting up here again. And there's several of these out there looking really good. I would watch them pretty closely here in the market. I am a little bit concerned about the financials. The financials showing some weakness in here, but yesterday they bounced back up here a little bit, and they're trying to come back through this resistance here in the chart. But watch that carefully. We've got a little bit of a lower high that's formed in here. If this were to rest out toward there, we could get that failure or that bounce back up here into resistance. Watch that there for that potential failure. A little bit of weakness showing up in some of those stocks, so watch them closely. Take a look at steel. CLF, again, I have a bias on this because I am holding this up over 30% on this trade at the moment. Looking good in here. If we can get a little bit more buying support here on the day with the bullishness, we might see that stretch on higher here. So watch that closely. And another thing that we're just building and building like crazy here for AI, energy, data centers, infrastructure improvements, everything like that. We're going to need a lot of steel for that. So keep an eye on stocks like CLF. Steel Dynamics had a whopper of a move yesterday, just ripped to the upside, breaking through this major resistance area here in the chart. So I wouldn't chase it, but any rest or pullback in there that sets up the next opportunity in Steel Dynamics, I would be watching. Take a look at like MT. This is a gappy stock, but also showing lots of strength. Nucor might be one just trying to pick up out of this low. Nice little push there on that to the upside. Watch that and keep an eye. We need a rest. We need a little consolidation, a little pullback here in these drug companies that had such a big move here this week. Little rest, little consolidation, and I'd be keeping an eye on those. And last but not least, guys, take a look at energy on BTU. Wow, just a parabolic run here on this. I would not chase this at the moment. Really stretching here on BTU. I would expect a pretty substantial rest or consolidation could be coming, or a substantial pullback in that chart. But then I'd be looking for that entry into some of these coal stocks, because once again, we're going to need all the energy that we can to supply the power that AI is demanding. So keep an eye on those. So with that, everyone, I've run this video a little bit long. I want to wish you all a fantastic day. I want to wish you great results in your trading. Have an awesome day, and I will see you right back here bright and early next Monday morning. Y'all take care, be safe, and as always, wish you all the best.
Black and white candles, my stars in the dark. Price is my king, got that fire and spark. Rideways my ranch on the trader's trail. Trading with heart where the profits prevail.